have a hearing going on in which we have Dr. Anthony Fauci being questioned. It was very, very frustrating. Those who lived through the history of the pandemic, how our government responded to it, and how our health officials were basically lying to us. It was kind of crazy to watch him reverse himself. Well, Congressman Lesko was in the room. We welcome her to the center ring. And Congresswoman, did Anthony Fauci, did he perjure himself while he tried to rewrite history yesterday?
Well, thanks for having me on. And sparks were flying. We had a lot of questions for Dr. Fauci yesterday in our COVID Select Subcommittee. And I asked a number of questions, and he denied some things that I asked him. But the thing that really stood out to me is that not one single Democrat ever apologized to the public. They kept apologizing to Dr. Fauci, but they didn't apologize to all the kids that couldn't go to school, all the businesses that were closed because of this 6-foot social distancing recommendation that came out of our federal government, which Fauci himself said just appeared. It appeared. There was no studies to back it, no science to back it. And so we had all these things happen to us based on no science whatsoever, and that was really remarkable that the Democrats just kept sticking up for him. They keep on doing that. The other thing that was really remarkable and obvious was that Dr. Fauci signed on all kinds of federal grants without apparently having any knowledge of them, he said. You know, he didn't review them. That wasn't his job, but he signed them. And so the one that went to the grant money that went to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, where we suspect the lab leak came from for COVID, that one, you know, he denies he knew the reports were late, that they weren't getting the information they wanted. I mean, this is just, if this guy is the highest paid person in the federal government, he signs off on things and he doesn't know anything about it, apparently.
I think that is what many people found frustrating even before you had the hearing yesterday, because we've been lied to by Dr. Fauci. We've been lied to by the CDC, the World Health Organization. And as you said, not one apology, not very few, maybe a handful of people have actually apologized, have acknowledged that they got so much wrong. And the policies, the advice that came down from Dr. Fauci, these things fundamentally transformed our nation probably forever.
I totally agree with you. And one of the questions that I asked Dr. Fauci was basically the same question I asked the Deputy Director of the National Institute of Health a couple weeks ago. Did the U.S. government fund gain of research funding in the Wuhan Institute of Virology? Dr. Tabak, who is the Deputy Director of NIH, told me yes. Dr. Fauci said no, because it wasn't that type of gain-of-function research. But I said to him, how do you know? Because we didn't get the lab books from China. We didn't get the data from China. And then he went on, and I'm paraphrasing a bit. Dr. Fauci goes, well, we didn't fund that, but we don't know exactly what happened in China. We don't know if they did something there. Well, that's the problem. NIH never went to inspect the Chinese lab. They never did. They never got the lab books. Reports that were due through EcoHealth Alliance, which they gave the grant money to, weren't done on time. They were 2 years late. Fauci said, I didn't even know that the reports were late. That's what he testified to yesterday. This is outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous.
And we're talking gain of function. We're talking about the science that led to this pandemic that has damaged our world so much. And here you have the highest paid bureaucrat, unelected bureaucrat in government who's feigning stupidity as, you know, the people he's working for and the agency he's working for is also, you know, bringing in tons of money through patents and all this kind of stuff. Fauci blamed a lot on the CDC. When are we going to hear from the CDC in your committee?
Well, we used to hear, the former director Walensky came in front of us. That was a while ago, and that's when I got her to admit that she had the personal cell phone number of the teacher union president, Randy Weingarten.
Oh, my gosh.
And so, this stuff just kept going on. And as you know, the government, we have evidence that the government worked with Facebook, other social media to silence anyone who disagreed with them. And they worked with them. And the government pressured all of these social media companies to say, make sure that nobody's saying any other theory out there. And in fact, the other disturbing thing that happened yesterday is that Dr. Fauci took absolutely no responsibility for the likely illegal actions of his senior advisor, Dr. Morens. So last week, Dr. Morens, who is Fauci's senior advisor for over 20 years, we had subpoenaed his emails, and it was very evident from numerous emails that he used his personal email account to avoid FOIA, which is the Freedom of Information Act, to prevent the media and the public from seeing public documents related to COVID. And so the guy did all these illegal things, and Fauci said, yeah, that was wrong. We shouldn't have done that, blah, blah, blah. But he took no responsibility for the guy who's been his senior advisor for over 20 years. He said, well, I don't really know him. Even though he has that title, he's really not my senior advisor. I mean, this is just ludicrous.
It is ludicrous. We're seeing the duplicity. We're seeing the lies. This hearing that you guys are conducting, what do you want the end result of this to be?
The end result and the purpose of our committee is to try to expose to the public what happened right, what happened wrong, and how we can prevent the wrong things from happening again if we ever have a future epidemic breakout. We have to be more open because now people are not trusting the CDC. They're not trusting our government, not only in the health sector like the CDC, but also our judicial branch. So these things are exposing what happened, trying to hold people accountable if we can, like Dr. Morens should probably be prosecuted. He definitely perjured himself in the last committee hearing in front of us, and that was the senior advisor to Dr. Fauci. I don't know why the guy even testified. He probably should have pled the fifth because he kept digging himself a hole, and I think ultimately he's going to be charged with crimes.
Congresswoman, I want to appreciate how much you came out today, short notice, and got us caught up to speed. I hope that the results play out just the way you said, because someone needs to be held to account. That's Congresswoman Debbie Lesko.